Hi everyone. This is a great lesson because we are able to take our verb of being, me, to be, into new tenses, new territory, the future and the imperfect. So we're only learning the imperfect and not the aorist, and there's a good reason for that, namely that there is no aorist of the form be. Why is that? Why do you think that might be? We have a future, will be, we have an imperfect, was. Why wouldn't we have an aorist? Well, think about, we'll draw a quick timeline and get a sense of what things mean in linguistically for each tense. So we have the present tense, which we could represent as the kind of zero spot on this timeline. So we have the past back here and the future here. We're not talking about tenses, we're just talking about time. Chronology. So if we talk about something in the present, it could be the state that you're currently in. I am happy right now. I wasn't happy a minute ago. I won't be happy in 2 minutes, but right now, giving this lesson, I'm very happy. Well, that's good, but few things are absolutely instantaneous, and we could say that there's some wiggle room around there. The present tense kind of covers around, and you could say, I am a doctor. Well, if you got your MD 20 years ago, you've got a long status of having been a doctor for a long time, but it has a present tense meaning. I am a doctor, that's who I am. I carry that with me, but it's been true for a long time. So the present isn't necessarily instantaneous. If we're talking about the future tense, so let me just mark that with a TP, not toilet paper, but tense present. Now let's talk about tense future. Well, that could be anything in the future, starting here, whatever. It could be a short moment, but we don't know, and it could be something that's long. I will be 40 in a few years, more than a few actually, but at that point there will be 365 days, maybe 366 if it's a leap year, when I am that age going through. That's a bit of time that's not instantaneous. And then tense for the imperfect, we remember that could be multiple things occurring, like I used to go to the store, and of course you weren't always at the store, but maybe you went 100 times, and that kind of periodicity, that kind of repetitive motion kind of gets blurred together linguistically, and this imperfect time is going to be a space. Well, that's all different from the aorist, which is just a simple past that happens at one moment, just boom, there was existence. Now, we've gotten to a point with chemistry and particle physics where if we're creating a new molecule, let's say developing a very unstable element, one of those at the middle bottom of the periodic table that really only lasts for a nanosecond, maybe then it would be appropriate to use the aorist tense for, there was Dunconium, if I were able to make an element, Dunconium, and be something like dn, and I don't know what number it would be, something like that. Put it in a little box, and it only exists for a nanosecond. Well, then maybe we could say that there would be an aorist, but for Greeks who didn't have that kind of precision of time, something that was instantaneous really didn't have existence. If it was a moment, it wasn't being in that sense. So this is why you can get away with just having an imperfect, no aorist of the verb to be. Well, that's good kind of theory. Let's get down to the nitty-gritty of how do we actually form this and how do we use it. Well, as often in these lessons, before we can go forward, let's go backward a little bit. We have singular and plural for any verb, and then we have the persons, right? First, second, third, first, second, third. This is, of course, I, you singular, he, she, it. I'll just put he for now. That's sexist. I'll be inverse sexist, she. Then we'll have we, y'all, and they. Those who've been following the lessons know I'm a big fan of y'all for the second person plural. Good. So what is I am? And note how irregular this verb is in English. These don't really look much like each other. This verb is irregular in almost every language, but let's go back to the Greek present. And what do we know about that? Well, we have Amy up here. As often they give you the first person singular form, Well, what's peculiar about this? Well, that's not this accent, this acute on the ultima. That's not something that happens with verbs. This is because the present is enclitic, right? Normally it doesn't even have this. This is just marked by convention that way, and that's what Shelmerdine does, so that's what I'll do. So we had Amy in the singular, first person, I am Amy, and it was enclitic, but that's how we drew it. Next we have the form you are, which strangely enough, and very irregularly, wasn't enclitic. It was naturally had a circumflex, A, you are. And then third person singular was esti, and that had a new movable. If it was followed by a word beginning with a vowel, it would be estin. Again, these accents on the ultima, just by convention. And then we'd have, in the plural, we are, esmen, y'all are, este, and then they are, ac, and again that could be a new movable, they are, acid. Good, so this is the present. That was very strange. That if you thought that was a tough pill to swallow, you were right. There's no way to make that easier than just memorizing and embracing the irregularity. Nice thing is, as we're moving now into the future and imperfect, these things are going to be a bit more regular, and at a certain level you're going to have to trust me on that, because for the future, these forms are regular, but are unlike what we've seen before, or they're at least mostly regular. These are going to look like the middle voice. So far we've only been working in the active voice for Greek. The middle voice is something between the active and passive. We'll get to it in, I think, chapter 17, so we got some time. But just know that as you're learning these forms, these will come back, maybe to haunt us, maybe to reward us for having spent some time to learn them now. So I am, now we're saying I will be, and this form is esomai, and that accent is recessive. We're no longer enclitic, but we have this my ending, which is new. And then in the second person singular, we're going to have esse with the iota subscript under the eta, or alternatively sa with the epsilon iota. Different ways of doing a vowel. They're pronounced the same way, at least by us. And then estai. So these are middle endings that we're going to get to in 7 chapters, a few weeks. Plural is going to be eso-metha. And because this is disyllabic, accent's going to move off of this initial epsilon, fall on the omicron here. But we get it back with the second person plural, y'all will be, which is esistha. And then they will be, they shall be, will be esontai. So we have a couple things that we can quickly note before we move on. We've seen that the mu is a good way of representing first person. It's here in the singular, it's here in the plural. There's a reason why in English we have kind of me and am. This M sound sticks around for the first person. Pronouns are not verbs. Me is not the same thing as am. But we can see that there's an M that sticks through everything. And then otherwise, these Mai Tai endings were going to be similar. And no, they're not just a drink that you can get at Trader Vic's, Mai Tais. All right, so present, future, past. And when I say past, what I mean is imperfect, because it's not aorist. And this form is going to have some frustration in that we got 2 options for I was, A or ain. Notice smooth breathing, circumflex, and then this new. This isn't a new movable. It's not that this only occurs before words beginning with vowels. These are just 2 different options that we have. Second person singular, aistha. Third person singular, ain. He, she, it, was. Plural, and this will be a little bit comforting, amen. We were, y'all were, will be ate. Let me do a little cleanup on that diacritic mark. Smooth breathing with circumflex. And then plural, this will look a little aorist, but it's not, asan. So I was, ain, you were, singular, aistha. He, she, it will be, esthai. He, she, it was, ain. Esamatha, we were, or we shall be, Amen, we were. Esista, y'all shall be. Eta, y'all were. Esontai, they shall be, they will be. Ason, y'all, they were. So you can see there's not a lot of regularity here. This is a lot to learn. Good news is, Amy, as you might expect, the verb to be, comes up a lot. So to be able to put these in your memory bank will be useful. And we've already seen where, Amy can be useful, both with that phrase, hoios temi, right? Where we had, I am the sort I am able to. We also had that dative of possession with Amy. Well, now we can do these things in different tenses. We can do them in the future and the past. This is useful. It's nice to be able to say, there will be soldiers, or there will be helmets and shields for the soldiers, that sort of thing. Or, you were the type of person to be able to. You could. This is what this gives us. So it's worth the extra effort. I know it's pretty irregular. So bite the bullet, do it, and we'll see you next time where we talk about the relative pronoun, which is, thankfully, much more familiar to things that you've already learned. See you then.